Welcome to the High Impact Man podcast. High impact men from across the nation sharing their stories of inspiration, encouragement, and hope.
Gosh, seek transformational relationships.
What you're hearing from the culture is not right.
Pick up the six, you know what I mean? But you never know who your six sometimes is.
Stop being less.
To help others become the virtuous leaders they are called to be and that our nation desperately needs.
Hey, hello, all you gangs and gals out there listening to the High Impact Man podcast. Most of you guys, but we do know some ladies that listen to us. Shout out to Barb Witt. I work with Barb in the OR at Geisinger, and she listens to us all the time. Anyway, big news. We think we have this whole technology thing figured out right now. I'm going to put pressure on Dial-Up, but he got the tutorial from Spielberg. Spielberg just abandoned us, and Dial-Up has now figured it out. And so our quality of our episodes should improve. Last week's episode sounded normal for the first time in months.
It sounded great.
It sounded great. It did sound great.
Yes.
And Dial-Up did a great job editing it, but the AI, I don't know, Dial-Up could explain it. We don't need to do that now, but it was getting clipped by the AI, was cutting out, like, it was really weird, unnatural pauses and stuff like that. So we have that figured out, but one of the glitches we had was we had Joshua Etemadi on. His F3 Bail recommended to us by Funny Car, another recommendation by Funny Car, to be on our podcast. And we recorded his podcast, and then we dropped it, I don't know what it was, 3-4 weeks ago or something like that. And the audio was just terrible. And so we took it off. It was only out there for a short time, and we pulled it so that we could try to clean it up, and we just were not able to clean it up. And so we are recording it again. And Dial-Up has already worked some magic with our sound quality tonight before we even got started. So I think we're coming to y'all loud and clear now.
I can't fix my lighting. I look yellow. My room looks yellow tonight.
You do look yellow. You got some yellow lighting there.
I need to get one of those influencer lights that I put in front of me with the halo circle thing that they use.
The ring light.
Get
the ring light.
Yeah. I'm gonna get one to make
anything to make you look prettier, buddy.
Smooth my skin and just make me glisten. Like the podcast stars that we are.
Maybe you could get some Photoshop done or something. I don't know.
All right. See what I can do.
Not that we need it. We're both handsome devils. So anyway, my name is Nevin Gorky. I'm known as D-Fib in the Gloom to the F3 guys. Joined, as you've heard, by Dial-Up. His real name's Troy Klinger. And as I said, our guest today is Bail, Josh Etemadi. And Josh, welcome back for round 2 of the interview. Thanks for being willing to do it again.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me back. We'll just repeat what we did in the past.
Yeah, and you're from F3 Blue Ridge. I'm assuming that's in North Carolina, the mountains in North Carolina.
It's actually in Northern Virginia. We also have our share of the Blue Ridge Mountains out here.
Right.
Beautiful Loudoun County, Virginia.
Very nice. Yeah, I was in the Blue Ridge Mountains in Virginia because my kids went to Liberty, and we took some drives along there. I drove along the Blue Ridge Parkway in Virginia. It was a beautiful drive. Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah, 81's a great road too.
Yeah, thanks for being here, man. And people that listen to us frequently know that we usually play a little game of trying to guess how our guest got his F3 name, Bail, but we know that because we already did this recording once. So I'll just let Bail tell you his F3's origin story, which will include how he got his name. So Bail, how'd you get involved? How long ago was it? And how'd you get your name?
Yeah, so I started F3 in June of 2021, but I had been watching the Proof of Life videos for a couple of months. Prior to that, I had connected with a guy, Funny Car, as you mentioned. When I started my business in early 2021, I was networking online, trying to connect with CPAs and bankers, and attorneys, and whatnot. And so Bill, who's a banker in the area or in Southern Virginia, I connected with him on LinkedIn, and he was always posting videos of the Proof of Lives and basically advocating for how great this group was. I was at the time, starting my business from scratch. I had a non-compete, so I couldn't take my old accounts back with me. I had to start over again. So working in a basement with no windows, it can be pretty quick, fast track to depression and anxiety. But seeing these videos, there was something about it, I gotta tell you, that just kind of stuck with me. And I kept telling my wife, man, this looks really cool. This looks like a really fun group. It's early in the morning. It's not going to get in the way of kids' routines and getting them ready for school. And it allowed me to kind of take care of myself. I really want to do this. She said, okay. So I went online. I found the F3 Near Me page, and I saw that there was a location called the Berg. And so I sent a message to the guy there, and it turned out they had just launched that AO, I think maybe a couple of weeks before I had reached out to them. And so I showed up. There was maybe 5 or 6 guys there at the time. A few of them were from other locations, but trying to get the AO up and running. And I told them I just started my agency. I do surety bonds for construction companies. And one of the guys said, "So bonds, like bail bonds, right?" And I said, "Well, not really, but kind of." But and I kind of danced around it. I think they saw my reaction and said, "Oh, your name is definitely going to be Vale." And since then, Vale's been the name.
Yeah, cool. How old are you now?
Just turned 41.
41. All right. And Bale, so you got it. You got in. So it's been maybe almost 4 years, or 3.5 years now. The first beatdown you went to, how was that? I mean, were you already kind of fit, or was it a real struggle for you?
So at my old job, I would play basketball a few days a week. I lifted a little bit in high school, but never really was too big on that. I just loved to play basketball, and I loved cardio. And so when I left, I didn't, when I started working from home, my old office was far away. Getting out there to play was rather difficult. I will say it was a kick in the teeth the first couple of days. The first day I went, I definitely was close to splashing Merlot. A few times I felt like it was coming, but the guys that were there were encouraging me. Hey, great job! Keep up the good work, even if I was going really slow at the time. And I think that's what kind of fueled me to keep coming back. It was just, there was never a time where there was a guy that was like, "Hey, man, pick up the pace," or kind of teasing you a little bit. And you'll get that when you get to know the guys, but especially for a first, yeah. Hey, man, that form is weak, man. You got to go all the way down on that American. But the guys were just so supportive, and it really kind of stuck with me. And I came back the first day. I'm like, that was really cool. Even though it was hard to get up in the morning, I'm going to go back. And at the time that AO did, I think it was like a Wednesday. We did like, I don't know where that's coming.
That's me. Sorry.
It's all right.
You off.
We had to do it a third time?
No.
Okay. Yeah, it was 2 days a week, Wednesdays and Fridays. I started sharing the story with a couple of my neighbors, a couple of friends. A few more guys started coming, and then we added another day. So now we're doing it at this location in Leesburg, days, Wednesdays and Fridays. It's a great group. It's a great group of guys.
Yeah, cool, man. Did you when you were growing up, where did you grow up?
I grew up just a couple of towns over. I grew up in a small, they call it an unincorporated town called Sterling, Virginia, which is right on the border of the counties between Loudoun and Fairfax County. Went to high school there, grew up there, and then kind of made my way west, so to speak. Not too far west, but now I've landed here.
All right. What was your childhood like? Did you have just like typical childhood? Played sports, went to school, hung out with your friends, kind of thing?
Yeah, it was a good, middle class childhood, but a little different in some ways. My father immigrated here from Iran in the '70s, so I grew up kind of hearing some of the challenges he had coming here and trying to make something of himself, and then seeing some of the challenges that our family faced, from everything down to where we wanted to live. Feeling that we were welcome in certain places where we may not have been in others. My dad came to Texas first when he came from Iran, and then the revolution happened and the hostage crisis that all happened in the 70s. So that kind of impacted him in some ways. Hard for him, even with an engineering degree, to get a job after he graduated college. So ended up working restaurants and places to, just to try and keep things going while he looked for work. And then he met my mom, who's American. The our ancestors were English settlers mixed with some Native American and some Irish, all in us. So I've got a big old melting pot of cultures and religions in me, which I think is giving me a unique perspective. I see people who are Christian, Muslim, Jewish, Buddhist, wherever, or non-religious. There's good people in every outlet and everywhere you go, and that's kind of the way I've tried to live my life.
Yeah, that's cool. I remember when we talked to you the first time. I want to talk to you a little bit more about your dad's experience, because so he left right before the revolution. Did he see trouble coming, or he was just looking for a new opportunity?
He wanted to come for an education. He was one of 5 kids, and he was one of the younger ones. He was able to get out, and start, kind of start fresh. He's fully embraced this country and the culture and everything about it, which has been a learning process for me in my life too, is seeing that, while I can be proud of where we came from, at the end of the day, we're American, and we need to respect, this country.
Yeah, he must have given you, passed on some really good, work ethic and values, having to come here as an immigrant and, and make it just as you described. It was not always easy to start out and kind of.
No, it wasn't. He told me, I do some nonprofit work too, and I did an article online, just concerning some stuff in the neighborhood, and the story I told was my dad telling me that at one point he had a single dollar bill to get him through a week, and he had the food in the fridge to kind of get him through the food. And when he told me that, I thought it was just one of these stories that that you tell, but I told it in the article, and then he sent me a picture of the dollar bill. He still carries it to this day in his wallet.
I was going to ask if he still has it. Yeah.
And so he says, I still carry it. It's just a reminder of kind of where we came from. But the stuff that they instilled in me was to always give back. Another great thing about this group, we've done food drives. We've helped pack kits for the less fortunate in the community. I do a fundraiser every year at Topgolf. We raise money for a couple of food pantries within the public schools, and a lot of the F3 guys come out and support that. So it's just a great group of guys.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Just one more question about regarding that. Do you still have family over there in Iran?
I do. I have some cousins that live. Some of my aunts and uncles have since passed, but I have an aunt that lives here in maybe about 30 minutes from us, here in Virginia, and then I have some cousins in Australia. There's just a lot of people that have left the country just because of what what they've gone through over there. But I have a few cousins that are still there.
All right. Yeah, dial up. What? I don't know if I've ever asked you. Klinger, is that German? Is that what you are?
It is German, yeah.
Yeah.
I never told
anything
you
else?
we were bell makers.
Bell makers.
Bell makers, yeah.
Does Klinger stand for the little clasp in the middle or something like that?
Well, it was cling, cling, cling.
Oh, okay.
Klingers. We were the Klingers bells, but it was with this. But it was some spell it with a C, but of course the German would be with a K, right? But yeah, they originally settled in Klingerstown, which is a little south of here. I didn't learn that till I got down here, and I had a patient with the last name Klinger, and he gave me the whole history of the name, because I grew up in State College area.
Yeah,
we were like the only Klingers up there, and then I moved down here, and like there's a ton of Klingers, and so
to bell makers.
So now you know, cling cling.
Yeah, you got anything else in you, or are you a purebred?
Both sides of the family are Klinger or German. So
wow, you're a purebred. Wow. Okay, I'm not. I'm a mutt. I thought all along my father's family was Polish and my mother's family was Irish. I thought I was Polish and Irish. And then I bought for my family, my wife and kids, one year for Christmas, I bought us all the DNA testing thing. I forget which company it was. I think it was 23andMe. But anyway, mine came back as mostly English. I'm like, what? And then like the second and third ones were Irish and Polish. And then my dad came down for Christmas and I told him, I said, I got this DNA testing. I said, guess what? I'm mostly, what nationally I'm most is my, predominant thing. And he said, English. I said, how'd you know that? Like, why didn't you tell me all my life? I thought I was, Irish and Polish. But anyway, turns out both grandfathers from both sides of paternal and maternal grandfathers were English. But I do have Irish and Polish in me. But anyway.
Hey,
Yeah,
you guys
I'm
keep
English, brother.
talking. I'm going to step away just for a minute. I'm a bachelor tonight, and the dog wants in, and I forgot I left the dog outside before we started.
Oh,
So
my
you guys
Lord.
keep talking. The guy's going to just disappear from the screen, and you guys can carry on and
All
this
right,
hands
yeah.
way back in no time.
If you didn't say anything, you just went and did it, nobody would know. It's okay.
You wouldn't have noticed, yeah, because the audio,
Yeah.
they would have no idea. It's only
Right.
if they're
Unless you're
watching YouTube.
talking, you don't show up.
Yeah. So anyway, for you folks on the audio, I'm going to disappear just for like literally 10 seconds.
We're going to time you. All right, folks. Nothing like live TV. All right. So where did you go to college?
Well, I graduated from George Mason University in Fairfax. I spent 2 years prior to that studying music at the Shenandoah University Conservatory. I had dreams of being a music producer and being involved in music, or being a music business executive. Long story, but, my heart was really in business, more so than music. When you're in high school, they tell you got to make a decision on what you want to do. You got to go to college, and you don't really know what you want to do. I had done some jobs, waited on some tables in high school, and kind of was still figuring out what I liked. And it really wasn't until I got in college that I got some jobs in sales, really, in business, where I found that this was really my calling.
Yeah.
Some guy handed me a business card to sell knives for a summer, and I became a Cutco rep. And
My son did that.
Yeah, and everybody called me crazy, and my parents were like totally against it. Why are you spending the money to sell it? And I don't know why, but I believed in it, and I went and I sold it, and I crushed it. I sold a ton of knives. I still have the set. I bought it for myself when I was 18 years old. My dad said, "You're an idiot. Why are you buying knives?" I'm like, "I'm going to need them when I get older."
Expensive knives.
But I got them on a discount because I was a rep. So I still have them. I've got those table knives, and I've got all of it, and they still are sharp as a tack. It's great. I love it. But it was really that kind of got me the knack in terms of like, hey, I really like business. I like working with people. I like not convincing people per se, but when you're passionate about a product, you want to scream it from the rooftops, and you want to be good at it and make people feel comfortable and bring value to their life. And I feel like that's what I do in my job now too. It's like, I'm at the end of the day selling a piece of paper, but I'm selling myself. I'm selling a service. Making people feel comfortable sharing confidential financial information with me. It's part of sales. It's part of that whole process. So that's kind of what took me away from music and then brought me into the business world. And so, when you go from a music school to a business school, the credits don't really transfer. So I had a lot of electives, but not a lot of like basic credits. So I essentially started over. So
what kind of music were you doing?
I went there for classical guitar, but they make you do piano and music theory and all of that other stuff. But I went there for classical guitar, and then because that's what I was really good at it. I could play guitar pretty well at the time. And I really didn't think I knew anything else. I was like, okay, I guess I'll be a classical guitarist. But I knew that wasn't like a career, which is why I kept thinking like maybe I'll do the business side of music. But even 2 years into it, it was just so focused on music. My heart started to kind of pull me away from that and go towards more of the business side. So it was actually a college professor that was like, hey, you don't seem like you're really into this, like you're not as passionate as some of these other kids. where's your passion? What are you excited about? And then that turned into a conversation about business schools. I made that transition in 2006, in 2003.
All right. Okay. Nice. It kind of sounds like you found your groove. Do you think you found your purpose in life? Or are you still searching?
No, I think I have. But it starts to change, right? And you don't realize it. When I was in my 20s, it was all about work, make as many connections. My clients are my friends, and I want to be at every dinner and every networking event in town. And then you get married and you have kids, and then kids start playing sports and they start doing cool stuff, and you're just like, I want to be there for that. And so I feel like I've worked really hard in my life, that I've got 15 years plus in this industry. It's closer to 20 now. I've established a book of business. I've got. I always want more, but I'm at a point where I can look at it and go, okay, what else is important in life? And that's seeing my kids have success, and making my wife happy. And so that's kind of you start to see that shift, and you hear everybody say it. They're like, there's more to life than just work, and you think that, no, that's all. I'm just a hustler. I'm just going to do this forever. There's definitely like more passions in my life now than just work.
Yeah. Dial-Up's still looking for his purpose, right, Dial-Up?
That's right.
Yeah, we talk about purpose, and every guy seems to struggle with that coming up with that. And as guys, we get married, one of our purposes is to be a good husband. We have kids, one of our purposes is to be a good father. So you're right. As phases or seasons of life change, we have different things that we're responsible for. But that ultimate purpose, where our passion meets the people that we want to serve, that's a little tougher for guys to pin down. And the guys that really have it made are the guys that can find their purpose and make money at it, and that's what they do for a living. But that's not everybody.
Yeah.
Right. You got kids? How many kids you got?
I got two boys. Got
Two boys? How old are they?
Almost 11 and 7.
11 and 7. All right. Well, you got your hands full, buddy.
Yeah.
You better stay in shape.
Sounds like they got the sports thing going. That'll keep you busy.
Yeah, we've got something just about every day. And like I said, I would change. I would trade it for the world. It's great. I love watching them. I mean, you watch them make mistakes, and you watch them struggle, but then you watch them do some really cool things and get more confident. And
Absolutely. The guy that we interviewed last week, Huckleberry, he does a really cool thing with. It's called Soul Kids, right? Dial-Up, Soul Kids.
Yeah, Soul Kids. Yep.
Soul Kids. He basically, brings neighborhood kids together, and they run. And they run through the neighborhood and stuff, and he does things with them, and it's just to get kids out of the house and get them moving, and making relationships with the kids from not weird, but a wide age group. From like, I think the youngest are like 4 or 5, or I don't know, pretty young, all the way up to late teens or whatever, and they're out there running like 5Ks and stuff and terrorizing the neighborhood, it sounds like. But yeah, that's good, man. So back to F3. You've been doing F3 for 3.5 years. What has F3 done for you?
That's a good question. It's done an awful lot. As you're talking about guys finding their purpose and passion, it's kind of like when you get on that airplane. We've used this example before, and you say, if that oxygen mask drops, you got to put it on yourself first before you can help others.
Right.
And I think back to that 3.5 years ago. I mean, there were like moments in months that it felt like I was just kind of like I was there with my kids and my wife, but I wasn't there. I was just thinking about the stress of like, how am I going to make this work for my family? How am I going to pay the bills without my book of business? And that was a very dark time. But I realized also part of that wasn't just the work; it was like the exercise component. And I went and did that, and I went out and sweat for 45 minutes and got a few fist bumps, and it was like, okay, this is that camaraderie, that competitive sportsmanship stuff that I was kind of missing for that period of time. When I launched the business, that didn't realize was missing in my life, and almost for my entire life. I always was on rec league teams and some things here and there, but just having that group of guys that that you can pick up a phone and call when you're in.
Yeah.
We did this, so this podcast isn't going to be exactly the same because the last time we met, I was preparing to go. I think I was preparing to go to Jamaica for a trip. Got there, so we had to. We were supposed to be there for a week. We had to find another flight to get back. We came back. I think it was 2 days later. I got to see him. He was stable. Thought he was going to get better, but he got pneumonia and he passed.
Boy.
And it was it's been, it's been a couple weeks now, but it's still tough. Like we have moments where we can be okay, but times where it's really challenging. But, I was able to, I had the cue like a week later, and I decided to honor him by doing a workout. And, I did it with his nickname that the kids called him Didi. That was his nickname, and each letter signified a specific type of workout. And he came from, my wife's from Bosnia, so he came from Bosnia. He had a real thick accent, and so it was a little hard for us to communicate, but we always understood each other. And he always told me, "I love Rolling Stones. I love Tina Turner." So I said, "That's all I'm going to play." So I just played a bunch of Rolling Stones and a bunch of Tina Turner songs.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, man.
And actually, there's a great song called "Proud Mary," which is great for Mary. You just keep doing sit-ups for like 5 minutes. So we did that, and I had planned on it, but there were guys from other AOs that showed up, and it was like 25 guys that came. When they found out, and it's like I know I've done it. I've done it for other guys when they've been in a pinch. We had one of the guys who launched the AO at the Bird when his dad passed. We had like 35 guys from everywhere that came to support this guy. It was incredibly powerful, incredibly meaningful, and it's great to do that. You don't really realize how cool it is until it happens to you, because you think, oh, they're just doing that because he's him or he's that or whatever. The guys actually do care. So many people reached out. So many people text. People still text me, "Hey, how you doing? How's the M doing? How are the kids?" That's what it's done. It's created a tribe, a group of guys that I know are my brothers.
Well, I'm sorry about your loss. That's difficult. But yeah, what you described, this brotherhood, it's real, right? I mean, it's real, and it's something that a lot of guys, I probably would say most guys in America don't have, and that's the whole point of F3 and the whole problem with what we call sad clown syndrome. Guys are basically, doing life alone. I mean, they're with their families, and they may have some work friends or something like that, but to have those really tight bonds of fellowship that come with doing hard things together and support and encouraging each other, and it's part of the culture of F3. And you talked about getting the point where you could put on your own oxygen mask so you could help the guy next to you, and it's you may be the guy that's always helping somebody, and then one day you need somebody to help you with your oxygen, because you're going through something difficult or whatever. So that's great, man. We had a lot of conversations last podcast about culture, because the guy we interviewed, Huckleberry, is the Q of culture for F3 Nation. And so, if anybody's interested in listening to that, it's a really interesting interview with Huckleberry. But we dial it up, and I answered this question, and then we asked our packs and stuff. So I think, what you described is what many of the guys said when I said, how would you describe the culture of F3? And a lot of the guys, including Dial-Up, said, if you had to boil it down to one word, which is not fair, but if you had to, a couple guys, different guys said brotherhood. It's the brotherhood. So, and I think you kind of just described that. All right.
Absolutely. There's just been, I think of, kids are sick, something as simple as that, and checking in, hey, how's the kiddo? To one of the guys, his wife had some heart challenges, had some real serious health scare. He was a relatively new guy, maybe within the first 3 months, and he was very quiet about it and didn't really ask for the help. But when we found out, we all stepped in, and I don't think the guys missed a workout. in over a year. He's so consistent, so great. He's told us it's been something for him that has helped him out a ton as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I feel bad for guys that don't have it.
Yep.
I was thinking, dial up. I got to bring this up and see what you think about this thought I had. I don't know, in the middle of the night last night for whatever reason I was thinking about it. But
Sleep.
yeah, I woke up at like 3 and about a half an hour. You start thinking about things, and I finally fell back to sleep. But anyway, I was talking about an elder meeting we had at our church, and last night. And I started thinking, I don't know, I can't remember what prompted it, but I started thinking about F3. But and this is not to say that the church is bad. The church is great, necessary, critical. The body of Christ is the biggest over the centuries place to find help, to find the kind of not just spiritual nutrition that you need and that kind of thing, but helping widows and orphans and going out and helping people that where leprosy was running rampant, and then HIV, AIDS, and all that stuff, and just people that bring meals to families in the church that are in need and things like that. But F3, we talked to a guy, oh my Lord, I can't remember who it was. Was it Huggies, who had a stroke when he was working out, right? And he said 80 different F3 guys came through the ICU when he was in the hospital. How many times, name me one time when 80 different church members came to visit you in the hospital, right? And this isn't, I'm not trying to, criticize the church. I'm just saying, where's that, in the place where we should find it, right? And then when he went home, he had 30 or some people lining the sidewalk with shovel flags as he entered his house after he left the hospital. How many times do you see that? And we unfortunately, as members of the church, we rely on the staff, right? The pastoral staff to do that work. When in reality, it's all of our jobs. And if we really want to be the body of Christ, we really should do that. So anyway, calling out the church a little bit on that. I'm not saying F3 is better than the church by no means. It's two different functions, but a lot of crossover. And I know the faith part of F3 means believing in something bigger than yourself, and it's not a specific religion. But Dial Up and I are members of a Baptist church, and I'm coming from that perspective. F3, a lot of times F3 acts like the body of Christ, because basically, at least in our region, we're pretty much all white guys who are Christians. That's just central Pennsylvania. But that's the faith that we have. So, we pray at the end of each workout in our circle of trust. We pray for each other. We take prayer requests. We're acting like the church, right? Dial Up. Am I wrong about any of that?
Right. Too often. Yeah. I guess where I look at it is, the church is the real church is not the building, right? It's not the brick and mortar.
Yeah.
The church is going, like, we're called to go out amongst the people and amongst the community, right? And we even have that, I think, in our motto or a mission statement for the church, right? And that's, to me, that's what F3 is. Like, F3 is, a lot of Christian men, like you said, in our local community, going out and just being amongst their brothers in the community, regardless of what the other guy's faith is, right? We're out, we're living, we're doing beat downs with them, and we're living life with them. And they might not be Christian, they might have different beliefs than us, and that's okay. We still just share Christ's love and compassion with them. Even if they're not non-believer and they've never asked us about our faith, we're just simply loving them, right? And what a great testimony that is in and of itself.
Absolutely. 100%, brother.
It's all about.
Sorry, man.
It's all about. No, it's all about respect. Down here too, we've had some conversations about it, and like you guys have heard my story. I grew up I grew up going to the church, but my dad's not I wouldn't say he's a super large practicing Muslim, but he did grow up that way, and so I try to be conscious of that as we recruit other members or potential sad clowns to join. That, hey, look, if the queue is choosing to pray at the end, that's up to them. We've got some guys that choose to do a moment of silence and say, hey, this is your moment to do what you want to. You can meditate, you can pray, you can do what you want. Not once have I had a guy say, hey, no, I really want to pray, or I think we should do it this way. It's like, you're the cue. We're going to respect you as as a fellow man and give you the opportunity to lead that way. But there's something magic about the gloom, man. You talk about the difference between guys showing up from F3 versus maybe the church. There's something that magical that's happening at 5 o'clock in the morning or 5:30 in the morning. And if you've read that Free to Lead book, they talk about the men that would go on these epic adventures, and they talk about it. There's so much of that in my mind that's similar. That you talk about your friends and carry a log in the middle of the snow, one day, and you're like, to see something totally stupid, but you know what? We have some great stories, we have some great laughter, and we're never gonna forget about it.
It's not a seesaw until you got one really good story from it, at least, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, we had to move locations. Still, a guy had filled up a very large PVC pipe with like this water slush in it, and so it's like 40 pounds. So one side's heavier than the other. Well, we're running around town. It's like 12 degrees outside, and carrying this pipe.
That's me. I have my notifications turned off. I don't know why it keeps coming through for some reason. Carry on.
Yeah. Well, we're carrying the slosh pipe, and of course, a bunch of men carrying the pipe around. So all types of jokes are being thrown at each other, throughout the entire time. So, we're just laughing and having a good time as we run around town.
Yep, very cool. Well, F3 is an epic adventure. So, every you guys out there, if anybody's listened to it and they don't belong to F3, go on Google and type in f3nation.com, and there's a map, and you could find where you live on the map and find an F3 location near you. You can probably can you just Google F3 location? Or
you can do
me?
F3 near me.
F3 near me. Yeah, find it, man, because it is an epic adventure, and the reason it's epic is because we do hard things. We do it at crazy times in the morning, no matter what the weather. It's always outside, and you do it other guys. And
New locations being added every day.
New locations being added every day. All right. Well, thank you for sharing all that, Bale. Anything else you want to share about your life before we ask you the 2 questions that we already asked you last time?
No, I think I've shared enough.
All right.
Yeah.
Dial up, you got anything for him before we kind of roll down the last few questions?
I think we hit all the key points that, I don't got anything.
Okay. Well, Bale, if you had to pick somebody that's sort of your inspiration, your hero or whatever, somebody you look up to, who would you pick?
Talks about my parents a lot. I feel like they're everything that they went through has just kind of been an inspiration for me. Seeing my dad kind of challenge himself, coming to a country not knowing anybody, and say she grew up not well off at all, and picking herself up and moving out of the years has kind of been an inspiration for me, and something that I hope.
Very good. All right. And the last question is, this is your chance to speak to the men of America. What's your message for the men of America?
Just show up. I'm on a local men's channel on Facebook for local dads of Loudon or husbands of Loudon or whatever, and somebody was asking, hey, is there a group of...
Like a calendar.
Yeah, it's Real Husbands of Loudon County, and I've been kind of quiet. I haven't said much on that page. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. Hey, is there like a men's group that gets together and, maybe free and talk about stuff, and they talk about what's on their minds? And, do I have a place for you? And so I just shared the link, and he was appreciative. But there were other guys that commented, hey, this is really cool. And I saw some of the guys that had posted previously liked it. And one guy was like, hey, that sounds awesome. I'm like, hey, you should come. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 5:30. And I think he said something like, when it gets warmer. And I get it. He's like, no matter what you can tell me, I'm not showing up in the cold. And I certainly get that. But again, the guys that even have showed up in the cold come back. The ones that have showed up for the first time and said, I don't like the cold, because again, there's just something about So much fun. It was great. Just hanging with the guys. You're having a good time. So just show up and have fun.
Yep, we need that. We need that. Great message. And you want to know cold, you had to come up here to the land of the ice and the snow. Yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. It was like, what was it, about 8-10 degrees up, but the wind chill was like -8, I think, in the morning.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I have a hard time.
Yeah,
It
and
was
I went to get gas in my car. I did not want to get out of my car to pump the gas, but I had to because I was just about out of gas. I swear the wind was blowing at me from every direction at the same time. I know that's not possible, but I swear that was happening.
it was like
It was
3 days. The
crazy.
wind was just relentless.
Yeah, like 30, 40 mile an hour winds when it's, below 10.
Today was a balmy 10 degrees and calm winds.
I was
Where were
thinking,
you? Where were you?
well, I had to work. I was walking down from the parking lot up by, the rehab place. And I'm walking down, I look over and I could see you guys because it was like, 5 after 6, 10 after 6 or something like that. And we started 5:45s in the parking lot at the hospital that I work at. And I could see them off in the distance to the left in the parking lot. I'm heading to the right toward the hospital. And one of our guys, Jiggy, is a great guy. We might even have him on the podcast eventually, but he has a bad leg, and so he doesn't run, and he's got a bad shoulder, so he doesn't do it. So basically, he does abs. And I'm thinking to myself, it is too cold to just be doing abs today. I don't know what Jiggy's doing with those guys, but this might not be one that I'm unhappy that
we did a lot of squats, a lot of lunges, a lot of Bonnie Blairs. Yeah,
he'll do legs, right?
and core. Yeah,
there you go, legs and core. That's what he does. Yeah.
but we had 2 guys whenever the clock struck 5:45 this morning, and then it became 8 by 2 or 3 minutes into it. So
yeah,
they had to
rolls in late.
Yeah, they got the 15 minutes early is on time is late, and late is unacceptable speech.
Yeah, is that why you posted that question?
That's the reason. That's the reason the mumble chatter about starting to do
gotcha.
burpee penalties for guys that are late.
Dial up starting to crack the whip as the Nantan. He's our Nantan. That's it. Burpees for late arrivers. Very cool. All right. Well, Bale, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. Another good recommendation by Funny Car. And Bale told us he has some guys he might recommend to us. So all the rest of you listeners out there, I don't even know. I never even look at our website. I hope it still works, but I think we got one guy in all the years from our website recommend it. But I'll tell you that right now, you could just text me or find me on Slack. There's a few different DFibs out there. I'm from Susquehanna Valley.
The DFib.
The oldest DFib, I think. But my number is 570-594-3768. So send me a text. Let me know if you got any recommendations. I got a little bit of a list right now that we're going through, but we always love to get recommendations.
Or Nev Gorky, NEVGORKI, and get this is the best part, at AOL, AOL.com. Yes. Those emails still exist.
Yeah, and it still works, and it's always worked. Why in the world would I change?
That's right.
They make fun of me all the time for that. Yeah, nevgorky at AOL.com. Believe it or not,
you're like the only person I know that still uses an AOL account.
Yeah, believe it or not, when I got that account, long time. How many decades
ago
was that? Yeah. When I got that account, I wanted to set up my account, and
you were 14.
N Gorky was taken.
What?
Yeah, NGORKI at AOL.com was taken. I couldn't use it. That's why it's NEVGORKI, because N Gorky was. One day I'm going to email that guy. It's like, who are you? I never did that, but yeah. Anyway, nevgorky at AOL.com. Send us the recommendations. The whole point of this mumble chatter right now. And and again, I've said before that I know that the Stuff We're Trying guys are planning on putting out a number of episodes coming up. We're going to get the COT back on track. You're going to have some new hosts. Don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but we're looking forward to that. And Bones said he's going to start putting some Hunt for Wellness podcasts out there. There are things in the works for all the guys at F3 Nation looking for more F3 podcast content. There are things in the works. So send us your recommendations, send us your criticism, send us your love, whatever you want to send us, send it. But we love getting recommendations to have guys on. All right. Bale, thanks a lot, brother. Appreciate you being on.
Appreciate it.
Keep kicking butt in the gloom, brother.
You as well. Thanks, guys.
All right. Take care.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. I would like to thank our guests for joining us and sharing their story of becoming a high-impact man. More information and resources can be found at highimpactman.com. If you like this podcast, please consider following us on our social media pages or email us at him@highimpactman.com. That is HIM@highimpactman.com. The High Impact Man podcast has a new episode every week, and you can find them on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Google Podcast platforms. Have a great week, everyone.